Hello NCU students, welcome to week 8, our last week. You're almost done, but don't coast yet. Hey, this week we have a number of learning objectives from chapter 13 and 14. This week our learning objectives include understanding the factors to consider when we're sourcing our services or products to third parties outside of our company, namely ethics, in addition to other things. It's not always about price. We're also looking at understanding the impact of what we would call the bullwhip effect as it pertains to material flow. And then we're going to realize that there is a relationship, and I think you all know this, but there is a relationship between supply, demand, and then the supply chain structure itself. And we're going to look at how we would describe third-party logistics and some of the challenges that third-party logistics have. There's a video clip in the attend section that you can look at on that. And then we're also going to look at, a number of factors related to the issues of plant location and logistics between plants and that sort of thing. I want to talk for a moment about Chapter 13's topic of sourcing decisions. As the stamping plant manager in a local Tier 1 automotive company a number of years ago now for me, I would often visit our Tier 2 suppliers, the people who brought us in material, who were not delivering quality parts to our plant. Now, oftentimes those suppliers were very well run, but they just struggled somewhere in their process, or they struggled someplace in the specifications that were given them. But every once in a while, though, I would visit a plant that was a complete train wreck from beginning to end. Without using any company names, I'm just going to relate a short story to you here so you can get the idea of this. I visited one of those Tier 2 suppliers, a number of years ago when we were having trouble with them. One of those suppliers that just was a complete train wreck. Now, this was a supplier in our community. And just a few miles away from the plant, a few miles away from my home. Their cost was really, really good, but their quality was not so good. It was questionable at times. And the working conditions, unspeakable. I'll give you an example. Like when I walked into the plant, the first thing I noticed that the air quality was very poor. There was this low-hanging haze all throughout the plant that was created by their process. The ventilation system wasn't working. The next thing I did, and this is by the way, if you don't do this, you ought to. If you're visiting one of your suppliers, the next thing I did was popped my head into the men's bathroom and looked inside. Indescribable is the only thing that I'll say. So by the time I got to the shipping dock, I was not surprised to see chaos and large piles of non-conforming material everywhere. It wasn't organized at all. You see, if you have suppliers that are not treating their workers well, the cost of the product or the service doesn't matter at that point. Here's the unfortunate thing. While I was not satisfied that we should keep this supplier, the decision was made for me. The sourcing manager for the corporation insisted that we keep and maintain that relationship. A lot of it had to do with cost. A sad day, because I felt like my hands were tied and the decision was forced upon me. If you're sourcing business to other people, if you have that responsibility, do a walkthrough sometime, even surprise them. But do a walkthrough sometime and just look at how they treat their employees. Look in the bathrooms, look in the break rooms, look on the floor itself, look down and see if it's clean or dirty as you walk through the plant. Then you get a pretty good thumbnail of their quality. When you can make the decision, consider the ethics of sourcing. I included a video, it really just breaks my heart to see this video, but I included a video of a stamping plant operation in the attend section of Beacon Learning for this week that I think that'll make my point. Okay, from Chapter 13, we're also learning about the connection between supply, demand, and the structure of supply chains. Very practical example I'm going to throw at you this morning. I was listening to the radio. I listened to NPR. I listened to a number of radio stations. I listened to NPR to get one side of the story, and then I'll listen to conservative radio to get the other side of the story and try to make my mind up about what's going on. But this morning I was listening to NPR, and they do a pretty good job of some of their newscasts on there, especially when it comes to economic conditions. And they were talking about the increased gas prices at the pump. Now around here in Michigan, it's creeping up to $3 a gallon. And I thought of, this course, and what we're talking about. And I thought for a moment that, consider gas as the inventory and think about the supply chain delivering that inventory to your vehicle. And it's with that kind of an umbrella, or that kind of a lens, rather, that I just want to, I'll relate to you what I heard on the radio station, on NPR, to see what you think. So the explanation from the radio report went like this. The excess domestic oil inventory, that is domestic oil inventory here in the U.S., the reserve, is starting to dwindle. And there's no explanation that was really given, but that in itself is going to drive the price up because supply goes down. And next, the report indicated that OPEC, the Saudis, have been reducing their exports. That's been going on for a while now, I guess. And again, a reason to drive price up as the supply decreases. And then finally, it's summer and people love to travel. I'm in that group too. So, yep, demand goes up because it's driving the price up. So if you put your supply chain hat on for just a moment and think about the structure of the supply chain, the price fluctuation makes a lot of sense, even though we don't like the outcome. Okay, finally, we're talking about plant location and logistics this week. Today, in fact, just this morning, a Tier 1 supplier to the automotive manufacturers experienced a significant fire in their plant. Now, this plant's about 50 minutes from Jackson, where I live here in Michigan. The parts in the plant are made from magnesium, and the fire started in an area of the plant that eventually caught the magnesium on fire, heated up, caught the magnesium pellets on fire, and then made some of the magnesium parts. Well, to make matters worse, apparently somebody didn't work this out very well. The sprinkler system kicked in and watered down the flaming magnesium pellets. Now, if you know anything from high school chemistry, never try to put out a magnesium fire with water. It explodes, it superheats, it gets worse. Well, that's what happened. A couple people got injured and the supply chain could be in trouble. For sure, the workers have lost their jobs temporarily. Everybody in the plant's done. That plant is not going to be open for months. And the supplier is going to have to move their production to their other locations. But it's going to likely be at a premium transportation cost that they'll need to absorb. The car companies, they're not going to pay for that increased transportation cost. And speaking of those car companies, I've listed a short list of them here on this slide. They're the ones who count on this particular plant's supply of magnesium parts. Now, all said, be aware of your supplier's capabilities. Ask for their contingency plans. And understand the risk that you expose yourself to should something happen to their plant. Okay, our last week is not so bad in terms of work activity. You got to read chapters 13 and 14, and there's an exam on 10, 11, 13, and 14, and of course there's your presentation. Keep in mind, your presentation is built directly from your final paper. The better your paper, the better prepared you are for that presentation. Now, please be sure to read the presentation assignment details in the challenge section for this week. It provides a number of important points and reminders about this presentation that you're going to do. The details also include a basic agenda of how the presentation should go. Listen, this is one-on-ones, just me and you. We're going to talk for a few minutes about your presentation. You're going to present it. We're just going to chat a little bit about it. You're going to do just fine. As I've been saying, I want you to have some fun with this. You're the expert on your company and its challenges, not me. Okay, that's it for now. Make sure you check out chapters 13 and 14 on global sourcing and then logistics. And be sure to watch this week's devotional and catch all of the required in the 10 tab information that's in those tabs. You're almost done with this course. Don't coast yet. Finish strong. And remember, God is on his throne. He's always been there and he's always going to be. Have a great day.